Ich habe in dieser Ausstellung versucht, die Rindenbilder aus der Sicht der Aboriginal People selber darzustellen. Und denen ist es sehr wichtig, dass vermittelt wird, denke ich, dass sie die Bilder malen, um ihr Verhältnis zu ihrem Land darzustellen. Und dieses Land ist eben nicht nur das Land, sondern es ist auch das Wasser, das Meer, die Flüsse, der Wind, der Regen, die Sonne, die Sterne und alle Erscheinungen der Natur. Und sie empfinden das so, dass sie nicht nur mit den Menschen und ihren Familienmitgliedern verwandt sind, sondern mit allen Erscheinungen der Natur. Und diese Verwandtschaft ist ihnen gegeben worden von ihren Ahnen, in ihre Verantwortung gegeben worden, und diese Tradition wollen sie gerne fortsetzen. Und diese Verwandtschaft und dieses Verhältnis wird nicht nur durch die Bilder dargestellt, sondern auch durch Zeremonien und vor allem Gesänge und Tänze, die eine andere Form der Vermittlung sind und die vielleicht sogar noch wichtiger sind als die Rindenbilder. Es gibt in dieser Ausstellung Rindenbilder von Künstlern, die mir sehr wichtig sind und die nicht nur Künstler waren, sondern Clan-Anführer und rituelle Anführer und die deswegen überhaupt diese Bilder malen durften. Und das sind zum Beispiel Mawalan Marika aus Yirrkala und sein Sohn Wanjuk Marika, aber auch ein anderer Mann, nämlich Mungurawai Yunupingu, der zusammen mit Mawalan Marika und seinem Sohn auch für die Landrechte gekämpft hat, durch das Malen dieser Bilder, die die Schöpfungsgeschichte und die Verbindung zum Land darstellen.
The Plewig collection was assembled over a 25-year period, focusing on trying to assemble the greatest collection of early bark paintings from the produced from the early 20th century through till the early 1970s. This was a seminal period in bark painting in Australia, and where the artists for the first time were producing their ancient cultural stories, which had historically been painted onto bodies and in ceremony and bark huts and rock shelters onto bark for the first time. 170 paintings were acquired over this period, and they come from all areas across northern Australia where bark paintings were produced, from the Kimberley, from Wadair, Port Keats, from all areas of Arnhem Land, from Groote Island and also the Tiwi Islands. The collection is quite extensive and has a great depth in each area, and focuses on the great masters, master painters of each area. It's unlikely that a collection like this could ever be assembled again, and I believe it is the finest collection of early bark paintings that exists outside Australia. The collection features a group of paintings from the Kimberley region in Western Australia, which is an area where only very rarely were bark paintings produced for sale. There was no outlet through the missionary system, and they were sold sometimes to anthropologists or the occasional traveller, and so the works are particularly rare. Most of the paintings were painted by people who actually, artists who were cave artists themselves, and occasionally painted on surfaces, on bark and sometimes other found materials such as wood. The paintings in this collection mainly are of the Wandjina beings, which are ancestral beings, which are benevolent beings that come in the wet season in the form of large cumulus clouds in the monsoon, and with them they bring the rain, and which nourishes the landscape and brings new growth, and also brings the new children to insects and all beings. And after they've finished their creation and nurturing of the landscape, they descend back into the rock wall faces where they live as cave paintings and as individual figures. But there are also malevolent figures that live in the same area, and one here is by an artist called David Moljali, and it's a particularly rare painting painted for anthropologist Kim Ackerman. It's of a nasty being who is very vengeful of the living, and he's called Arcula, and he has, as you can see by him, he's an incredibly scary force. He has long talons as fingernails to scratch people. He has poisonous cysts on all his limbs, which are filled with poison. He has a magic net which he can throw upon people and catch them, and a stick which he uses to punish people. Definitely a figure to be avoided, and a very rare figure to find in a bark painting. And indeed, I've only ever seen one other example of one painted.